Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be another video about apprenticeships, and this time we are talking a little bit more about issues with abuse in apprenticeships. This is your content warning that this video will be discussing all sorts of elements related to abuse with a lot of overlap with domestic abuse and domestic violence. So if that is not something that you would like to see or hear today, this is your chance to skip this video and keep scrolling. Now, in the recent discussions about apprenticeships on TikTok and here on YouTube and just all over the internet, in all of these discussions of abuse, a consistent theme that I keep hearing is people saying, well, why don't you just leave? Why didn't you just leave? You worked there. Why didn't you just quit? Why didn't you just get a new job? And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about how apprentices get trapped in unsafe and violent apprenticeships to kind of shed some light on why just leave is not nearly as simple as it seems, but also to serve as a warning for hopeful apprentices or new apprentices for things that are really big red flags that your apprenticeship may be an unsafe or even violent situation. Now, we've already talked a lot about unpaid apprenticeships, so I'm not going to get into that too deeply here, but I do want to touch on it in this video because financial abuse is one of the most insidious and hard to escape and hard to deal with forms of abuse. And financial abuse is one of the main reasons why people in situations of domestic violence and domestic abuse don't leave, because they physically cannot afford even to get 20 miles away from their abuser, even a bus ticket, even an Uber, even a taxi. And the same very much goes for apprentices. Many apprenticeships are unpaid. They can be 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Really, unfortunately, ingenious method for abusers to prey upon victims was to say, okay, well, you're not going to get paid, but you can live with me and I won't charge you rent, and then you won't have to worry about rent and expenses, and you won't really matter that you're not getting paid. And this is so prevalent that it's even listed as a red flag for apprenticeships from the Association of Professional Piercers apprenticeship page, because this happens so often. So when you are in a situation where you live with your boss, or your boss completely controls all of your finances, you are literally dependent upon this person for your next meal, your medication, everything. Attempting to leave that situation when you have literally no money to your name is so incredibly difficult. And even if the situation is not like that, even if it's one where someone works 2 jobs and they apprentice and they're also working a second job, a lot of times they're still not bringing in enough money to live comfortably or even have ends meet, let alone live comfortably. And so you are kind of riding on the fact that at the end of this apprenticeship, you're going to become a tattoo artist, you're going to become a body piercer, and you're going to make enough money to survive. And for many folks, they feel like they have to stick it out until they start making money, and then they'll leave. Oh, I'll just stay until I'm fully a piercer and making money, and then I can leave. And it's so easy. It's so easy to get trapped in this cycle with that. It's why one of the biggest ways we can help eliminate issues of abuse and violence within apprenticeships is to pay apprentices and pay them a living wage so they have the financial ability to leave if the situation becomes unsafe or harmful or dangerous. And the prevalence of unpaid apprenticeships directly contributes to the prevalence of abuse in this industry. But I've talked so much about unpaid apprenticeships, I don't feel like I need to get more into that here. I got a lot of other videos that get into that. But another really big way that abusers control people is through isolation. So they keep their victims very isolated from friends, family, anyone who could spot the abuse and try and do something about this. And this is really easy to do in apprenticeships. You get hired on, it's a new studio, you're talking to them, and you maybe mention this other studio in the area where you've gone and gotten work before, you know them, and you wanted to go like talk to them or hang out with them, and your mentor goes, oh no, like we don't talk to other studios, it's their competition, they're too full of drama. No, you don't want to talk to them, I'm looking out for you. Well, that's how it starts, but then it's, oh, I think I want to go to the Association of Professional Piercers conference and learn more about safe quality piercing. Oh, no, the APP is a scam. You don't need to go do that. They don't know what they're talking about. It's not a valid organization. Like, their stuff is dumb. They're all like mean, popular kids. We don't need to associate with them. Okay, well, I want to go to this seminar. with other piercers that's happening. Nah, you don't need to learn from him. He's going to teach you the wrong stuff. Like, we've got you here. And that's how it starts, with isolating you from other people within the industry, insisting that you can't talk to other studios, can't go to educational events, can't go to conventions, that you don't want to interact with or talk to any other tattoo artists or piercers because they're mean or they're drama or they don't know what they're talking about. And then very quickly that isolation can extend to your personal life. Oh, I can't stay late today. I was going to go hang out with my friends. Oh, well, I guess you don't really want this. Your friends don't even tattoo or pierce. They don't understand where you're at right now. Right now, for these 2 years, it's really important for you to be committed to the studio. And before you know it, you look around and you have no friends, no colleagues and community in the industry, no people that you talk to. You are isolated from family even, being told that you need to focus on work, focus on your place in the studio. And it's very intentional because then there is no one else around to offer you advice about the abuse, to comment on the abuse. And especially when it comes to isolating apprentices from other members of the industry, it's so that they don't find out that other studios in their area are paying living wages, not working their apprentices to the bone, not being inappropriate or hazing. You might learn that you're doing things unsafely, that your studio doesn't use proper sterilization or proper jewelry or proper techniques. And the mentors put it in this guise of wanting to protect you and wanting to watch out for you, having your best interests at heart and keeping you away from these mean, dramatic other studios and other piercers and other people, when in reality, they are making sure that there is no one around to say, hey, what's happening to you is not cool. That's not what it should be like at a shop. How they're treating you is not right. And that isolation is very powerful because it makes the apprentice feel very alone. It makes the apprentice feel like there's nothing else out there. This is how it is everywhere. And it feeds into other tactics that are commonly used to keep apprentices trapped. A big one is trauma and low self-confidence. Imagine being told every single day that you're worthless, that you do things wrong, that you'll never be good enough, and imagine what that does to your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth. Victims very often have very limited ability to make decisions in abusive relationships. They're often told, you couldn't manage on your own, you can't do this by yourself, you don't know how to do this, you need me. And this wearing down of your self-confidence and self-worth while building up your mentor as this person you need to be completely dependent on, coupled with the fear that comes from these situations, is a potent combination. And mentors will often constantly verbally and emotionally berate and abuse apprenticeships. You didn't clean correctly. You didn't pull a good line. You did a piercing bad. You'll never know how to pierce. You'll never know how to tattoo. You're worthless. You can't do this right. And it all circles back to, you need me. You need me to teach you. You need me to make sure you learn the right way. You need me to make you good enough. And again, the apprentice is often isolated from anyone else in the area who they could talk to, who could give them input. They are just 100% believing what their mentor is saying and telling them. Their mentor who they trusted to teach them the right way and take care of them. So it creates this terrible situation in your brain where you feel completely reliant on your mentor. Oftentimes you are completely reliant on your mentor for food, for medication, for anything that costs money. And your mentor is constantly telling you that nothing you do is good enough, you'll never be enough. And on top of that comes threats. And this can range from like verbal threats all the way to like physical threats and acts of violence. Obviously, acts of violence are very much ways people stay trapped in abusive relationships. But some of the threats, if I had $1 for every time I'd spoken to an apprentice who got told, if you quit or if you leave, I'll make sure you'll never get a job in the industry again. You'll end up blacklisted. I'll make sure you can't work anywhere. I'll make sure you can't get jewelry or machines or ink. These are all very common threats that mentors will make to their apprentices. And these apprentices are, again, usually isolated, don't have any communication with other people in the industry, and they believe and trust their mentor. So they are being told that all of the sacrifice they've given up until now in their apprenticeship will be for nothing if they leave, because their mentor will ensure they never get a job anywhere else. And speaking from personal experience, when you're in that situation, you believe that. You believe that? My mentor used to threaten me all the time. Oh, I'll make sure you get blacklisted. You won't be able to work in the industry if you leave. And I believed it. So even when he would become violent, even when he would threaten or yell or scream, I believed that if I left, I'd never get the opportunity to be a piercer again. And I had sacrificed so much and given so much, and I just wanted to pierce. So that was a big part of me not leaving, because I was so afraid I would have to give up on my dream if I left. Another big element is controlling social media. Now, a lot of studios have some form of social media policy. That's super normal, guidelines for how to post and handle yourself on social media. And it's even not uncommon for studios to share access to shop social media and things like that. Some mentors will even share access to their apprentices' social media business pages to make sure that they're interacting with clients correctly, fielding responses well. Like, digital troubleshooting is at this point just a part of the job. But it can very easily cross a line when mentors demand access to all of your social media. And again, it's usually under the guise of, I need to make sure you're talking to clients correctly. I need to make sure you're posting the right stuff. Like, I need to make sure you're using the right hashtags. So it seems positive. It seems, once again, like the mentor has your best interests at heart. They just want to make sure you're interacting well with clients online, you're getting more bookings. But then they have full control over your social media. They control who you talk to, how you interact with people. They can see everything. For me, it went from my mentor just having access to my Instagram because it was linked to the shop page for ease of sharing, to access to my Facebook because I sometimes helped clients there, to full blanket access to my cell phone and every single social media application I had, all under the guise of making sure things were good for work. And obviously, very quickly, it was not about work. It was about controlling me and having control over who I spoke to, who I was talking to, and what I said. And it's just another way that mentors manage to very thoroughly control their apprentice. And the last big thing that I want to talk about is shame and status in the industry. A lot of these people who are mentors have been doing this for a long time. Many of them are well liked or well regarded within their communities, or viewed well within their profession, or at least well within their local scene. And the apprentice, in contrast, usually feels like a nobody. They're an apprentice, they haven't been doing it very long, they don't know anyone. The mentors can often be manipulative and charming. They know all of these people. The mentor can very easily minimize or deny any blame for the abuse. It's so easy for them to be like, oh yeah, could you believe my apprentice was late the other day? So we made him scrub the floor on his hands and knees with a toothbrush for hours. And everyone has a laugh about it. No one calls it out for abuse or the practice that it is. It's just punishing an apprentice. It's just proving that they really want this. It's proving that they're determined to work harder. And the apprentice and the victim usually feels a lot of shame. They either understand that what's happening to them is not right, but they don't want to admit or own up to that and everything that comes along with that, or they're totally gaslit by this situation and convinced that this is normal and healthy and okay. Again, I used to be proud of working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I thought that that meant that I was working really hard and I wanted this and I was passionate about this. I did not see that it was just my labor being horrifically exploited by my mentor and boss at the time. All of these things coupled together create a situation that's incredibly dangerous for folks to leave. On average, it takes survivors of domestic violence up to 7 attempts at leaving before they leave. And statistically, the most dangerous time for domestic violence survivor is while they're leaving. Incidences of violence, bodily harm, and murder go up exponentially in the time period around and directly after a victim leaving. And in many of these situations of apprenticeship abuse, physical violence does become an element of it. So this can also be a very unsafe situation that apprentices find themselves in where they need to leave, but that's also one of the most dangerous things they can do. If you or someone you know is in a situation or an apprenticeship that feels unsafe, doesn't seem right, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Please check out some of the resources from Safe Piercing and also some of the resources I have collected on my blog. I will link them in the comments section down below. And please know that you deserve so much better. You deserve a workplace where you will be paid a living wage, where you will be respected, where you will be only expected to work reasonable hours, where you will be taught what you need to be taught to make it in this career without hazing or bullying or abuse or violence. And you deserve a workplace where you don't come home and cry all the time after work. Thank you all for spending some time listening to me talk about a topic that I know is very difficult, but also very important to discuss. I'm sure we'll sit down and talk again soon, and take care of yourself. Bye.